Pearson's here talking about, wow, this has been ongoing for some time. Yeah. I mean, I guess for a decade, but our reporting just in the last months. And finally, this independent panel presents to the mayor. We watched it here on the 10 o'clock stream yesterday. And the mayor and council seem to basically say, well done, this is awesome. Mm-hmm. Your question and your reporting is, where do we go from here?
Yeah, exactly. So just to give a quick refresh on where this timeline has gone, we found out about this in February at a press conference with then Chief Finner. Mm-hmm. Then this independent mayor's panel was appointed in March. And then yesterday was the final report. This was them saying, okay, our work is done. We've done this. Obviously, HPD is still doing a lot of work. So as far as the scandal being over, it's definitely not. But the mayor's independent committee says that our work is done. And they were put in place to review HPD's work and to also put forth recommendations of how to make sure something like this doesn't happen again. So that's what we got yesterday.
And there were, I think, 4 key findings, right? And then 9 specific recommendations that maybe branched out into others. It was kind of a lot. Personally, I noticed, because from the beginning I thought, they're understaffed. That's the whole underlying thing. They don't have enough staff. That hasn't changed and needs to change. What stood out to you in the report, having covered this a lot?
So overall, this was about over 90 pages, so it was almost 100 pages long. This was a big, dense report. And out of it, there were 17 key findings that they had. Pretty much what it boils down to is we need more people. We need to have a new record management system, which we do know is going into place in March of 2025, so this coming year. And they say that we need to start communicating between departments better, because while this all falls under HPD, the different departments operate kind of alone, and they aren't talking to each other, which then if one person has a problem, another person has a problem, they don't know that everyone's having this problem. And they also said that they need to be training these people. We heard specific instances of people that are being promoted to very high-ranking jobs that have never worked in these positions before. They aren't given any training. They're just turned loose and they're said, okay, now do this job well. But nobody's told them how to do that job well. And yeah, we just need to hire a lot more people. One of the big takeaways from this is that all of this, new training, new technologies, new record management systems, hiring new people, this all costs a lot of money. This is money that the city does not have. So right now we're really counting on council to go work with partners, whether this be philanthropists, legislators, to try to say, hey, we need this money to hire more people, to then train these people to do them well. It's going to take a long time to try to get this done.
And what did the mayor say about when this might be implemented? We have a new chief. That's big.
Yeah.
You know, they're already working on some things. The fact that they're going to have the chief report every month, I think he said, is a big deal. But what else did he say about what this actually looks like to change?
Yeah, so he says that what he would like to see done is to try to have a monthly report from the chief, so that way we can kind of get a better understanding of what issues are going on within the police department. The mayor's really talked about this a lot. We've certainly seen over the years people come forward and say, hey, we have a staffing issue, we have a staffing issue. He wants to see something more regularly. He says, I can't help you unless you tell me what your problems are. So he's hoping that's going to fix it. Of course, with these 17 recommendations, my big question that I had was, the word recommendations, right? You were suggesting that we do these things to fix this, but this is an independent panel made up of people who used to work for the city and the state, who do work for the city and the state. They can't really force the police department to do any of this. So I asked the mayor, okay, are we going to have a third party that is going to say, all right, we have this checklist and we're making sure that the checklist of recommendations is being done? Are we going to have some sort of timeline that Houstonians can look at to make sure that these recommendations are actually going into place and these improvements are being made? I asked him that question yesterday at the conference. I think we have that pulled up for you guys, his answer.
We want to do it as soon as possible. I don't want to give a timeline because it's urgent and it'll be done and is being done as I talk. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, so that was his answer. He says no third party going into place. He doesn't like to give timelines on this sort of thing because timelines kind of get you pulled off from the focus of the mission. He's pretty much telling us we need to have blind trust in a system that has already failed us once.
Well, we'll be there reporting to see how it's going and to see if there's a monthly update. And it's a big. I mean, this is a huge deal. personally, I think there's no improvement unless you have a real honest evaluation of how things are going. And this does feel like an honest evaluation. They had the HPD evaluation, and they had this other one, and they, I think, weren't afraid to say this was messed up, this is not working, this has been going on for way too long. But yeah, where does, we'll be there, I guess, to see if these goals are, if they self, motivate to do this and find the money somewhere.
And certainly, with this whole situation, the big focus on, there were 250,000 cases that were suspended. Yeah. And behind this is tens of thousands of people. These incident reports, they aren't just pieces of paper. These are people that did not get the help, that promised they were going to get help. And so one of the big questions we are continuing to ask the police department through all of this is, are you actually making sure that these incident reports are going to be investigated, that you're trying to get in contact with these victims, that you're not just reading through the report, acknowledging the fact that it was suspended, and then moving on to the next? How in-depth are we going with this to make sure that each individual person is getting the help and getting the justice that they very well deserve? We're continuing to ask the police department, how many of these cases can no longer be looked at because of statute of limitations. We're asking how many charges have been pressed. So far, we know that out of 250,000 cases, only 1,100 felonies and 63 misdemeanors so far. And they have been looking at this now for 8 months. So there's certainly still a lot of work to do. It's great that we're getting these recommendations, and hopefully there is going to be change in the department. But I think the big focus here is the fact that there's a lot of people that are still hoping to get help out of this.
And the numbers that you just gave are those cases that have been, closed? No, that have been solved?
So these are the incident reports that they have gone back into. They were able to get in contact with the victims. The victims have said, yes, I still want my case to be looked at, and I want charges. They were able to find somebody to charge. You have to remember, 7 years, some of these cases, 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago, evidence that they might have been able to look at back in the day may now be gone. So even though people say, yes, I still want my case looked at, if there's no longer physical evidence around, if stores have cleared their surveillance video, we're not going to be able to charge somebody in these crimes. And so a lot of these people aren't going to be able to get the help that they most likely would have been able to get.
What a mess. And if they didn't have the staffing back then, how are they going to have the staffing now to go and review all those and deal with the cases now? Wow, what a story. Lileana, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
A big topic for the last several months, and will continue to be, no doubt. It is 10:38, live look outside.